Shalom. Baruch Tawab, which means good morning in the Hebrew. I like to start off by giving all praises, all honor, all glory unto Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakah HaKwadash. I like to give double honors unto the apostles and elders and CT bishops of Great Millstone who rule well, taught me this truth. Peace and salutations to the Akim preaching this word of truth and sincerity around the four corners. You know, like Elder Malcolm always say, risking their lives and freedom to do so now more so than ever. Peace and salutations to the Israelite foreigners, the Israelites that live amongst the heathen and look like some of those heathen. You got to remember, this is not a black only thing. It's not just the so-called black people. You know, can't forget the northern tribe. And you can't forget the Israelite foreigners, you know, the Israelites that were scattered amongst the heathen, like it tells you in the curses of Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, you know. So the Israelites coming back into the fold, they're going to come looking like all these other nations. So shalom to the speckled bird. And peace and salutations to the Akim and the few Aqua who listen and learn in silence. Those, the true, shalom to the true believers, the true worshipers, Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. You know what I'm saying? Those are the hopeful elect. Just coming back in the spirit and theme of prophecy. And I got an article I got from my brother, shalom to him. Just, you know, dealing with Israel, you know, early morning. Wanted to put something up. And I got this article like half an hour ago. So I was like, you know, let me just, before I get the day started, let me just put something up. Because I'm, you know, going through the course of the day, I'm not going to be able to just pump out a video like that. So I was like, let me just do this. And plus, I ain't do one yesterday, Salakia. So I'm going to try to double up today. Was dealing with the war in Iran and the Strait of Hormuz being blocked, you know. And this just more proves that America is finished, you know. The whole world is basically seeing that America is unfit to be a to lead the world, especially the nation of Edom, Esau, so-called white man. You know, he's unfit to rule. So I'm gonna read pieces of the article, hit a couple of precepts, and Lord's willing this to be edifying. Try to float for like, you know, 10 minutes. Keep it short and sweet. Alright, this is from Al Jazeera. It says Iran war live. Hormuz Strait shut down again over U.S. piracy, says Tehran. It says this. I'm gonna try to play the video. If the screen cuts off, Salakia. I'm gonna just come back and just do it over. Like what else I'm gonna do, you know? So fair use, fair use, fair use. Salakia for the, what's that called? The commercial. Skip that.
Details before we had the mechanism, which is the Americans, the Iranians, Israeli, and Lebanese meeting regularly. It was not effective. It had structural problems, but at least there was something. And now we don't know.
And I believe this is live because this was published today. So I believe this is live right now, you know? So I'm gonna play like a couple minutes of it just to show you, give you a visual of what's happening over there. Now I'm gonna read what's down here, get a couple of scriptures, and that'll be that.
Israel can do whatever they want, and Hezbollah won't respond. So now they said we're gonna respond if there's an attack. And this is gonna change how the parameters and the rules of engagement are, if it's true. And then if they bomb the Israeli, Trump gonna get in and say we agreed not to bomb. So as I said, it's a very complex and fluid situation.
Yeah. And Lebanese officials say that the country is entering a new phase. As you say, with all this uncertainty, how real is that prospect politically when Israeli forces still occupy parts of the south and Hezbollah remains armed?
You're completely right. The concern now in the next week or so, we're going going to have a more tension in Lebanese politics, because if we move forward with the talks between the Lebanese government and the Israeli without the Iranians buying in the process, we're going to see tensions in Lebanon. But at the same time, there's a trend now, at least in the Lebanese state, that they want to move forward and try to reach an agreement. Trump is putting this agreement between Lebanon and Israel on a fast track, which is not a tempo that Lebanese society or state is ready to do. Yes.
Does this ceasefire strengthen the Lebanese state, or merely expose again just how little control it has over our events in the south of the country, how impotent it is?
It gives it a momentum. They can say that, okay, at least we got the ceasefire, even though it's very complicated how they got it. And now there's competing narrative in Lebanon who was behind the ceasefire. So I don't want to get into this because it gets testy in Lebanese politics. But at least for once, there was a state that was present. He called Donald Trump. He discussed this. We reached an agreement. It's a step. But again, we go back to the question that will they deliver, which is the American ambassador in Lebanon asked months ago. If they make this agreement, can they deliver on giving up Hezbollah weapons? Can they do this without the context of a larger agreement? So negotiation is easy to do, but you have to have negotiation power and you have to be able to deliver whatever agreement you can. And they don't have all the cards. And this is why there's need to have some synchronization in Lebanese politics between the Hezbollah and the government to agree on the next steps. Because otherwise, I think there might be more tensions on the border and in the capital, Beirut.
Really good to talk to you, Joe. Many thanks indeed for being with us. Joe Macron there in Paris. Pakistan has begun preparations for the next round of peace talks between the United States and Iran. The cities of Islamabad and Rawalpindi are increasing security measures. Negotiations on a date for the negotiations are now underway. Trump has previously suggested that he could travel to Pakistan himself if a deal is finalized there. Kamal Haider reports from Islamabad.
Although serious...
Alright, so as you can see, as it was saying, Trump is going to Pakistan to try to have peace talks, because we know that Pakistan and India, or Pakistan beefing, I believe they're beefing with India, and both of them have nuclear capabilities. So, you know, it seems like nothing. It seems like it's the same old in the so-called Middle East, but things is definitely, you know, going down, and prophecy is still coming to pass. You know, let me read this. It says Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says control of the Strait of Hormuz has now returned to its previous state because of the U.S. continuing blockade of Iranian ports. U.S. President Donald Trump says the naval blockade will remain in full force until our transaction with Iran is 100% complete. Earlier, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi said the strait is completely open to all commercial vessels in line with the ceasefire in Lebanon and on the coordinated route as already announced. Trump said Israel is prohibited from bombing Lebanon as the first day of a 10-day ceasefire in the country saw tens of thousands of people return to homes they were forced to flee during weeks of Israeli attacks. You see, so it's definitely going down, man. I'm gonna get a couple scriptures and I'll close it out. Like I said, I didn't want this to be too long. Just give you a quick update. Definitely got to get this. This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 49, verse 20, and it reads, Therefore hear the counsel of Yahweh that he had taken against Edom, and his purposes that he had purposed against the inhabitants of Teman. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Yeah, and the least of... surely he shall make their habitations desolate with them. Yeah, and the least of the flock is talking about Amalek. And gutter rats with hats and tiny tops, you know. The Israelis, they the ones who bombed Lebanon. And America saying that that they prohibited Israel from bombing Lebanon. That's bullshit. America can't tell Israel nothing because everybody knows that Israel runs America. Everybody knows that. You see, we've seen the videos of President Donald Trump pulling out the chair and holding the door, so to speak, for Bibi Netanyahu. So they can mix us with that BS. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 verse 1, and it reads, "To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven." Skipping down to verse 8, it says, "A time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace." And we're clearly in a time of war. We're clearly in a time of hating. These Islamic nations, they hate America right now, and rightfully so. America's not, America's not a good character in this story. They're the villains, and Israel as well, that play the victims. It's just that Israel been known to play the victims, and they're really the villains, like Elder Malcolm always says, But more things is going to come to pass, and I'm going to bring out those two scriptures, More things is going to come to pass as time goes on, and when it comes, I'll report on it. So, Lord's will, you was edified. Till next time, we're going to say shalom to the elect.